We ready for y'all.
What's up? Happy Friday, everybody. We are ready. We're ready to put the U.S. Open Cup behind us, Joe. We are ready to roll in to an awesome weekend, finished off by Portland coming to our home in the bins. Hopefully we can bounce back.
Let's go, Nagby!
Welcome to ATL's United Podcast. This is episode number 21. I'm Blake, the Marshman, joined by my co-host,
ATL, ho!
ATL Joe. We're here to bring you guys all the hype rolling into Portland, get you ready for a big weekend coming up, capped by Portland. In the bins, let's do this thing.
What a time to be back. Thank you, ATLians United. And hey, if you don't forget, give us a 5-star rating for 5 stripes. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and tell your friends.
Hit it. Hit the button.
It really helps us out.
Better than Romario Wiliams hitting shots, hopefully.
Ouch.
Yeah.
In the
shade.
news.
That was shade early.
That's a tough one. News week. We got something cool coming to the city. Everyone go to Fernbank Saturday. It's Robot Day.
What?
Robot Day.
What?
It's really cool. Have you ever been to Fernbank, Blake?
I have not been to Fernbank, and I'm going to be at SoccerCon.
Well, you can do both if you want. And if you have a younger brother, younger sister, you got kids, bring them on over to Fernbank. They can play with a bunch of different gadgets and check out the robots. It's kind of cool.
Before they take over the world.
Yes. Other things you can do. Concerts in the Garden is about to start up. Their lineups released. JJ Gray and Mofro is going to start it up. That starts next week, but get your tickets now.
That's fun. That's groovy. JJ Gray and Mofro.
Yeah, it's at Atlanta Botanical Gardens right next to Piedmont.
Beautiful spot.
Yeah, but another big news, SoccerCon is this week.
Woo!
We are going to SoccerCon. We will be there, rain or shine. We'll have our tent up. We'll have a bunch of swag. Come meet us. Meet Blake Marshman and ATL Joe. And our producer Britt will be there. And Chuck will be there.
Our official merchandise provider from Phantomaniacs, the famous and infamous Chuck. We're going to have tons of merch, tons of swag. You guys come by, say hi. We will make it worth your while. We love meeting our fans. We love meeting Atlanta United fans. And SoccerCon. Be there or be an Orlando fan.
Yeah, and MLS All Star break is right around the corner coming up, Blake. Do we have people on that roster?
Unfortunately, yes, and I don't want to talk about it too much. The good news is Tata is coaching the All Star Game.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to protect our players. I think he's going to give them a very good speech before the game because pretty much half our team got voted in. Hey, guys, please don't get hurt because this game means nothing, and we still have an MLS Cup to chase.
Playing against Juventus.
Juve.
Yeah.
Just signed Emre Can today.
And they did.
Yeah.
That's a big sign.
Big signing.
And now Argentina lost another game. They might be knocked out. Maybe Dybala and Higuain come back and might want to play in Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
That would be pretty cool, actually. I'd be down for that.
They'd have plenty of time to rest and maybe can stomp on some MLS players before to get their World Cup sorrows out from under them.
Yeah, speaking of the World Cup, guys, don't forget we are doing like a special World Cup bonus podcast following this show. We're doing it for the length of the World Cup. Started off with a little preview last week. Joe and I are going to dive deep into the World Cup news so far on this Friday morning as games start rolling in again.
Yeah, so other cups, we lost the U.S. Open Cup. We made it the same amount of time as we did last year. Lost in the round of 16. We don't get another home game. But, hey, we don't have to do another midweek game at home. So, props to that. It hurts. Hurts a little, Blake. But you know what? There's other people are hurting, too. Can you tell me what's hurting?
Injury report. Injury report.
Well, besides the entire fan base, after the Open Cup performance, not a lot of new injuries to report on. I think we came out of the Open Cup match against Chicago fairly unscathed. Rolling into Portland, thankfully we got a game on a Sunday, so a little bit of extra rest. We don't have to play like right again on a Saturday. Joseph Martinez is the big question mark. He was out Wednesday night. Romario Wiliams started in his place. Did not really produce in that role. Hopefully we'll have Joseph back on Sunday. All indications are he should be back according to Tata. We're just expecting probably some sort of mask or something to protect that nose, because if you guys have seen pictures of him on the interwebs, he's looking pretty rough. Garza obviously still out. His backup, McCann, no word really. He's had a hamstring issue. He didn't show up on Wednesday against Chicago. This is a big question mark. He's definitely not back to full training. I don't expect to see him out there on Sunday, to be honest, Joe. But that's really it for injuries today.
So Joseph Martinez with a mask or not?
That's going to be interesting.
Is it going to be like the basketball plate mask, that little glass mask, plexiglass?
I think as much as this guy plays with his head, it's going to be a mask, because he is such a physical player. And in the box, he's going up for headers. And if he felt like, his broken nose was in any way in danger, I think the mask will give him kind of an extra security blanket. And maybe it'll, hide him when he's hiding right on that offside line. Who knows? Enough with injuries. Let's talk about, unfortunately, this loss to Chicago on Wednesday night.
Yeah, another game at home that Atlanta struggles in.
Ugh.
That's our third home loss this season. What is happening at Mercedes-Benz?
That reminded me of the playoff game against Columbus, Joe. It was like, we didn't score a goal the whole game. It was an elimination game. It was at home. The fans still came out on a Wednesday night.
It was another game where they gave us free tickets. If you were a season ticket holder, they gave you free tickets to get into the game, if they worked or not. Because some people had tickets on their app, and their app would shut down when you pulled up the tickets, and were not allowed into the game for a while.
Yeah, shame on Ticketmaster. They definitely got the loss this week.
Yeah, the Atlanta United app had some glitches. Eventually, I think everyone made it into the game rightfully, but it was a cluster.
It was no good. Mine crashed a couple times, and like right after I got into security, I was so mad, and it finally, like, my barcode just popped up. I was like, I'm in. All right.
That was better than me. I had to bargain my way into the game. I got around with a group of other Atlanta United fans that had the same issue, and we were all standing in front of the gate and like showing them our app doesn't work. And eventually, when there was enough of us, they were like, "Okay, you guys can just come in."
Maybe that's why we lost. That ATL Joe wasn't in there for the start of the game. He wasn't in there for the national anthem. He didn't see the golden spike get ATL'd in.
I didn't have the golden spike power.
That makes so much sense. So maybe we'll blame the loss on Joe being locked outside the game for the start.
But all in all, Blake, let's look back at this game. We had 6 unusual starters in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Alec Khan in goal. We had Zizzo played. We had Romario up top, Vasquez on the right. A lot of guys. And Awo, first ever start. Andrew Wheeler-Aminu, first ever start for Atlanta United in the middle. And Miles Robinson playing in the back.
Yeah. I mean, we had, a Open Cup lineup. I don't think we can make excuses based on the lineup. This is an Open Cup. Chicago didn't play all of their starters. A lot of teams use this competition to rotate players. We had a good enough lineup on paper to win this game. I really believe that. We still had Miggy in there. We still had our captain, LGP, for this game, one of the most solid defenders. I thought our center back pairing was great. And I just was very disappointed by our attacking play in this game outside of Tito kind of coming back and looking strong.
Tito created a ton of chances. He had that I thought he could make. He should have made a couple, but he didn't. He was the most creative player up front. And then you look at a lot of people were complaining of Romario Wiliams, who I've been a huge, huge fan of coming into this. And he gets another start. I was excited. I was expecting him to score a goal. But this may have been an off night for him. Hopefully it's not a trend. He looked a little sluggish out there, was not making great first touch. He kicked the ball out of bounds a couple times, missed a couple passes. So what do you think on Romario?
Dare I say it, and I hate to bring this up, Joe, but shades of Kenwin.
Oh.
Just slight shades of Kenwin Jones. Not to the extent that, like, okay, he's totally worthless out there, but his acceleration last night and his first touch reminded me a lot of Kenwin, and I did not like that reminder. So I really hope to see more out of Romario. I think that he is a player that is very capable of starting in the MLS, like not just in the Open Cup matches. I'm not convinced our system is right for him, but we can hit on that later, maybe in Tata's tactics. I just want to break down the fact that this wasn't his best game, but we know he can do better. We know that Romario can be better than this and can perform at a high level. So he scored some good goals this year.
Yeah, he scored some good goals in his career, so maybe we will see him. And there's a very high possibility we see him again Sunday, being that Joseph Martinez is a question mark. Is he going to play? Is not? Maybe Joseph comes in off the bench, or maybe Joseph starts and comes out early.
And there's always the idea that we go back to what happened last year because, we won a lot of games with Joseph Martinez sidelined last year, and Tito Villalba played at that striker position. So that's another option that I don't think we've hit on yet and that we might see later on once we get into lineup breakdowns. I think that Tito could possibly be vying for that striker spot.
Yeah, and so to move on to another player position, what really stung me? I was excited to see Andrew Carleton play another full 90 minutes. He was coming off a couple of great ATL UTD 2 games. He played a great U.S. Open Cup against Charleston, and he was on the bench this week.
For Vasquez.
And you know what? It's U.S. Open Cup. It's kind of a time to throw players out here who don't get much playing time and a chance to prove themselves. And Brandon Vasquez starts the game and played on that wing, and I do not think he had a good game.
I don't even know what he did, and I think that speaks to his level of play. I don't remember a time, other than him in the box, like just wasting an opportunity to either cross or shoot, where I even mentioned his name. Carleton is so much more dangerous, so much more direct, so much more lethal, so much more tricky.
And Carleton's more of a natural winger, where Vasquez's natural position is a striker.
He's a big guy.
He's a center forward, and they're playing on the wing. It's been the experiment for the past 2 years, and it worked a little last year, but it hasn't worked then, and he hasn't played much this year. So Carleton comes in late into the game and shows flashes of brilliance. There was a play late in the game where he has a cheeky little flick up over the defender to Villalba, who gets a shot off and just misses it to the outside of the net.
Yeah, Carleton played well, but he didn't get in until the 87th minute. So really, Tata is not giving Carleton a fair shake to really make an impact. 90 minutes versus 3 minutes, that's a big difference.
Yeah, I want to see one of our own. I want to see Andrew Carleton play some more. Maybe he'll make the 18-man roster and get some playing time coming up in this stretch of games we got headed our way.
Yeah, so I don't want our fans to dwell too much on this game. Look, that was a chance at a trophy. That's what this game is all about. It's all about glory, silverware, putting trophies in the cabinet. Our trophy cabinet is still empty, but we got 2 more shots at it this year. One of them, just to update our listeners on, is the Supporter Shield. That is the best regular season in all the MLS, the best team at the top, and we are still at the top. We're 4 points clear of Sporting Kansas City, so positive news on that front. And then obviously, MLS Cup going into the playoffs. We're in great position right now. We got a chance at 2 trophies, the MLS Cup and the Supporter Shield. We got to put something in the cabinet this year with this kind of talent and this kind of talented coaching. Don't you think, Joe?
Oh, I really do think so. And all in all, that game was 1-0, and it was a back-and-forth contest. Schweinsteiger and Nikolic put in good games themselves. And the only goal they scored, this was a game without VAR, and questionably offsides with Nikolic. It was fractional. He may have been on, but there was no chance at reviewing that goal. And we played a solid defensive game. My player of the game was Miles Robinson.
Yeah, Miles Robinson played fantastic. In defense, another low light, if you will. If Miles Robinson is the highlight, I would say Zizzo had another terrible game. Just really offered nothing. And I'm not being overly critical. I've defended Zizzo at some points. He's come in and played well in some games we needed a bunker down, like Minnesota on the road comes to mind. But he's just not providing any width or attack.
That whole side of the field, honestly, was pretty bad. I kept confusing Zizzo for Vasquez because he was playing up so high where Vasquez should have been, and then Zizzo was forced to create opportunities, and he pooped the bed.
Yeah, he did not do so well. But good to see Tito Villalba back there getting some good minutes. He looks healthy. I'm excited to see what Tito does moving forward, but I'm just ready to put this entire cup behind us. Look, we didn't make it this year. We got to put it behind us. It was a great chance for younger players to play. We've kind of blown that chance.
Yeah, Blake, I need a beer. Beer of the week!
Every week.
Yes, every week.
Even when we lose.
All right. We got a great beer for you. I'm going to spike it in. And Blake, you picked this one up. Go ahead and tell them what it is.
Well, this is from Wrecking Bar Brew Pub, which is just recently started canning their beers near Little 5 Points, right next to our home bar that is the Brewhouse Cafe. So this is an awesome beer. What is this one called, Joe? This is the
Juice Bar.
Juice Bar Pale Ale, not to be confused with one of those juice bars where you get like organic kale.
Count this down for me. I'm
Let's
about
do
to
it.
spike it in.
ATL.
That was nice. I got a heavy hammer today, and it just went in on the first strike.
That was a great spike. To our listeners, old and young, Joe is perfected the art of spiking home a beer with the golden spike of Atlanta United.
I'm going to bring that golden spike to SoccerCon, and maybe I can spike in some beers there if they let me.
Yeah, if they let us sneak some beers into SoccerCon, Joe will be spiking them home. If you guys just want Joe to spike anything, like, he'll spike it. Like, it doesn't have to be a beer.
Anything?
If you want him to, if you have your child with you and you
Whoa,
want
whoa, whoa.
Joe, okay, am I going too far?
A little too far.
Okay, well, some people want to get involved. Joe will spike home anything that you want spiked, and that's an ATL Aliens United guarantee.
Yeah, but Juice Bar is a quality beer, a good IPA. It almost tastes like a crafty home-brewed kit IPA.
Yeah, coming in at 5.5 ABV. On the lighter side, it's just a pale ale. This is a pint. You guys check out Wrecking Bar. Honestly known for their food. I love going there and eating. This is an awesome spot, awesome restaurant, awesome little brew pub.
Little dive brew pub.
Does things right. It's at the bottom of like an old mansion. Down underneath, they got a little outside patio. It's an awesome place. Last time I was there, I got the best cheese and meat plate of my entire life. But they got great beer pairings. All of their staff is incredibly knowledgeable in terms of like what beer should pair with what menu item. And that's one of my favorite things about going there, Joe, is you go in and you're like, all right, I want to get the chicken, but like what beer should I have with this? And they'll just like spout out like 3 beers that you got to try. And I'm like, okay, awesome. So Wrecking Bar, check it out, guys. Great spot to get some food. This is a great beer. We're going to continue to imbibe. But I think we got a preview because we got to put this game behind us. It's time for the preview for Portland.
We're playing Portland, Nagby's old team.
Portlandia.
Oh, yeah, the Portland Timbers coming to town.
Have you ever seen Portlandia?
I've seen a little bit of Portlandia. It's not my style.
That washed out song that plays at the beginning always pops in my head whenever I see Portland on TV.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't do it. It's
Alaska always pops in my head when I see Portland. And I'm
Alaska
really
Airlines.
confused as to why it's Portland and now they're looking like Alaska.
Oh, because of their logo on their jerseys.
The jersey says Alaska.
Alaska Airlines, yeah.
It's Alaska.
So Portland's not in Alaska, right?
No.
Okay.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe?
No.
No.
It's just Alaska.
Portland, I'm looking it up right now, is in Oregon, Joe.
Yeah, that's not true. It's in Alaska.
Okay, well, Joe and I aren't going to debate geography. We are going to preview Nagby's revenge, which he's got a shot at it. Not necessarily revenge. I mean, he left Portland on good terms, but Darlington Nagby, obviously to our listeners, acquired by Atlanta over the offseason, coming from spending pretty much his entire career as a Portland Timber.
Yeah, and it was a big trade. We gave him a ton of money. It was a big blockbuster trade. It was the biggest news over the offseason. And Portland was able to acquire multiple players by the amount of TAM that we gave them. A couple starters, a couple of great bench players like Andy Polo, a guy from Peru who's been starting on their right wing and been playing great. They were able to get another attacker, Armenteros, who has been switching or playing with Fernando Addy just constantly, and it's been a really big threat.
Armenteros has 3 goals already this year, so he's also producing in front of goal.
Yeah, so they've picked up some solid players. The other 2 guys are Christian Paredes and Julio Cascante, so other role players that come off the bench. They were able to pick 4 players just for one Nagby. So both teams, I think, came out on top on that trade.
Definitely. And Nagby has been one of our most solid players throughout the year. I think he's been consistent. He in-game, out-game, in-game, he's always there, receiving the ball, playing it out wide, recycling possession, doing what a good number 8 should do in that role. So Darlington, I think, has played great. I think that he could play better. I think he could bring more in terms of coming forward and attacking, because he has, such great attacking players in front of him when we are at full strength that I don't think Darlington's really seen his true attacking potential this season yet.
Yeah, and he got that one goal taken away from him earlier because Joseph tapped the goalie while it went in. But maybe Nagbe should be taking more shots. I would fancy Nagbe's shot outside the box a little more than Miguel Almiron from outside the box.
Yeah, so let's break this down. Let's talk about Portland, because that's what people are, tuning in. They want to put this Open Cup match behind us, obviously, and let's talk about Sunday. We got a fun weekend. We got SoccerCon on Saturday. We got a great game in the bins on Sunday night. They just beat LA Galaxy in the U.S. Open Cup, so they did advance further than we are. They're in the round of 8 now.
Yeah, they've won 2 U.S. Open Cup games, and they are blazing hot right now. They haven't lost since way back in April when they lost to Orlando. They started out the season pretty crappy, and then they changed their formation up. They changed it to a 4-3-2-1 and kind of made it more of a midfield-oriented lineup that surrounds themselves around Fernando Adi, who is a big physical front striker. And they have rattled off a bunch of wins and a couple draws. They've won 6 games and 2 draws in the past 8 MLS games.
Yeah, just to catch everyone up, I know I mentioned the Supporters Shield standings earlier. Where Portland's at right now is maybe not really indicative of how well they've played. They're back in 11th in total of the MLS, but the thing about that is they've only played 13 games in MLS competition, whereas we've played 16 games. So saying Portland won, all 3 of those games that they have, quote unquote, in hand, that would put them all the way up to only 2 points behind Atlanta United. So they're not that far off of our form. In fact, they're in better form than we are, because, they're past, like you said, 5 games, they haven't lost.
And they haven't lost in 8 games, and if you add the U.S. Open Cup in there, they haven't lost in 10 games. They are one of the hottest teams in the whole country, and they just tied Sporting Kansas City, the team that they're competing with at the top of the West. And Atlanta United, quite frankly, I mentioned earlier, that they've been bad at home recently, especially against good teams. Sporting Kansas City comes into our house and wins the game. New York Red Bull comes into our house as a hot team, and they beat us. And Portland Timbers are known to travel with fans. So we need to be there rowdy and proud, and we do not let them cheer louder than us, and we need to show them whose house this is and take back our home field advantage.
I need to go on a little mini rant here, Joe, and I hope you bear with me, because this is a heart-to-heart with the Atlanta United fan base. I don't know if anyone in our listening base currently is in the supporters section week in, week out, like ATL Joe and I. I haven't always been as loud as I should be, and I'm the first to admit that. I'm not getting to games 2 hours before and being as proud as I should be. But I have decided that I'm going to make a change. I'm going to get to the games as early as possible, and I'm going to get down as close as possible, because our noise coming from the supporter section is drastically dropped from last year. And I saw it last night, and it's not there. The energy is not there. We're recycling a lot of chants. People aren't getting behind some of the chant leaders. I don't know, Joe. The atmosphere was lacking last night, and I blame it on the supporter section, because that's where it's supposed to lead from.
What was that, Blake? I couldn't hear you. You weren't quite loud enough.
I'm not going to burst anyone's eardrums, but I'm so frustrated by the fact that we aren't, in my opinion, there's just a lot of people sitting down, a lot of people not paying attention. As you get to the back of the supporter section, everyone's wondering why you're standing up. It's like, what has this become?
Well, you're looking at the wrong section then, Blake, because I'm sitting there standing the whole game, watching the whole game, and jumping into the chants, screaming my head off, loving every minute of it. So, I mean, it's a take some, win some, lose some.
But what happened if we don't sit? What happened to the entire stadium standing for the whole game? That's what it was at Bobby Dodd. Literally no one sat the whole game. Now you got people with cup holders and their kids, and they're relaxed, and they're like, oh, look, we're losing 1-0 in the 70th minute. I'm going to go get a popcorn. Like, what is going on? I don't know. That's what I saw last night. Maybe it's just the fact that it was a midweek game.
Last night's a different story, Blake. We got a midweek game, and it's U.S. Open Cup, kind of a one-off. And, yeah, there was a lot of people that didn't show up to the game because it was against their schedule and it wasn't regular season MLS. So now we're getting back, and let's see how they come out in the middle of the week on a Sunday night, prime time against a very heated, popular team. And let's break down a few more players here. Let's get them ready to see Diego Valeri.
Reigning MVP.
Reigning MLS MVP. He's got 6 goals this season, 3 assists, which tied for the team lead. He's got the team leads in both of those.
Yeah.
So he's still picking up where he left off. And he has a lot of help. They're really based around the midfield. But one good thing, the World Cup is going on right now. And a guy I mentioned earlier, Andy Polo from Peru,
and David,
starting right winger, is gone. He's sitting on the bench for Peru. And then for Costa Rica, David Guzman.
Yeah, David Guzman is a huge loss in my opinion. That would be like us losing Larry to the World Cup, and that's what I was going to get at is this guy is their, he's their anchor at central defensive midfield.
Yeah, and so that's 2 big players gone, and they're a very midfield-based team. And like I said earlier, when they switched to that 4-3-2-1, so they basically have 5 midfielders where they got a couple of defensive midfielders and some wingers that really go up and down the field and create a bunch of opportunities. Well, one of their other star players is Sebastian Blanco. He's scored 5 goals and 3 assists, so he's right there with Valeri, being very creative. And this is a guy that's from the Argentine Premier Division, from the same team Miguel Almiron came from, Lanús.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been in the MLS for a couple years now and has been thrived just like most of the other Argentine players coming over here.
Yeah.
So they still got a strong left side of the field. They're going to be subbing in a defensive midfielder and a right winger, but they feed all their balls into I just said feed all their balls.
Yeah, that did sound kind of weird, Joe, but I totally understand what you're saying. Like, this is going to be a game where they're attacking from a lot of different angles, and they're coming into more of that diamond formation. I don't know. They're going to rotate between the 4-3-2-1 and the 4-3-1-2, and they are going to be feeding a lot of balls into their attacking players. It's going to be a dangerous game for our defense. We got to be on high alert.
And so what they did last U.S. Open Cup, they played 2 strikers, whereas Fernando Addy and Armenteros, they both came in. They were playing with each other, whereas they were switching them back and forth and only could play one at a time. Well, they tested out a new formation in the U.S. Open Cup where they could really gamble, and it worked out. They won against LA Galaxy.
Playing that diamond, yeah.
So now it's a question, are they going to be bringing in 2-striker system and kind of change their formation, or are they going to stick with what's won them? They haven't lost in 8 games and stick with that. It's something that's really good to talk about. Maybe we can break down how we're going to go against them a little bit further in Tata's tactics.
Yeah, let's break it way down, Joe. Let's break it all the way down.
Get jiggy with it.
Let's break it down to our listeners. You guys are the reason that Joe and I keep this thing rolling. And I appreciate you listening all the way to Tata's Tactics every week, because this is where we get into the real meat of what's coming up for Atlanta United against Portland. And I'm excited, Joe, because we have so many options right now. We have so many great players that no longer have any opportunities coming in because we don't have the Open Cup anymore. So we have all this depth. We only have one competition to focus on. What is Tata looking at? We don't really have a solid backup striker, or do we? Let's start with attack. If Joseph doesn't start this game because he's the masked villain, who do you got?
Well, you got to go with Super Romario. I'm going back to him, and I know you're frustrated with him from last game. And, yeah, he had a bad game, and he scored in the previous U.S. Open Cup. He's a guy that can get in there and score goals. He didn't have a great game, but he is a sit-up front striker. Post him up there. He can put it in with his head. He can score with his foot. He's a quality goal scorer, but he's one of those, I really like to relate him to Tito Villalba, but without the speed, where he can score very clumsily, like poking it out, toe poking it, or getting a ricochet that looked ugly, but he scored. But he can also throw out a golazo, where we saw him score earlier from way outside the box and throw in a low screamer. So keep giving him a chance. He will have good days. He'll have bad days.
Okay, so let's just start for our listeners up front. Have we switched to a 4-3-3, really? I mean, I think that Tata's going to stick with it from here on out.
I think he really is. The last game when we went to Columbus and switched to that 4-man back line and were able to control most of the game, minus a few stretches, that really showed how we can keep possession. And then with Tito Villalba now being healthy, he got a full game of match fitness in the U.S. Open Cup. I think he's ready to be back in the lineup. And if Joseph does play, this might be the first time at home we can see the fearsome foursome of Tito on the right, Barco on the left, Miggy in the middle, and Joseph Martinez up front.
That would be beautiful.
Attacking South American quartet.
Okay, so let's back it up just a little bit. So if we've decided that Tata is going to stick to 4 at the back, and I think that's what a lot of our fans have been wondering for a long time, I think the death, and I agree with that statement, I think the death of 3 at the back was the second half of the New York City game at New York. I think that we were not able to control the game. We were not able to press up as high as Tata wanted, like you said. And then we go on the road to Columbus. We play 4 at the back, and that second half was like night and day versus the second half in New York against an equally dangerous team. And we just controlled the ball. We were able to press how we wanted. I think it's the style of play he wants to play. But I'm going to go back to our attacking options. I really think if Joseph is unable to go on Sunday night, I think that Tito Villalba has to start at striker. And I think that Gressel has to slot into that right wing position. That's my personal opinion. Because we have our strongest back 4, and Gressel doesn't fit into that. But in my opinion, Gressel has been one of the top performers, if not the MVP, besides maybe Parkhurst, of the season right now.
And, that's a great strategy. And we'll see how Tata, if he wants to change it, if Joseph's not unavailable, he likes to stick to his roots, at least every time I think he likes to stick to his roots. He throws a curveball at me and plays someone else out there. And Tito played a great striker last year. He scored a ton of goals. So that might be a good switch. And Gresselmania has been playing lights out this year.
Yeah, the same fearsome foursome, just throwing a German to the mix. Throw Gressel out wide where he's done really well in that wing back role. But now that we're switching to more 4 at the back, I don't think he's really a natural defender. Escobar seems healthy. And, the great thing about it is that Escobar has really come into his own since that mysterious thorax injury. And he's kind of changed, I guess, his playing style. I don't know if you've noticed it, but I feel like Escobar has really grown as the season gone on. And I think he should solidify that first choice option at right back. Let's talk about defense before we jump to midfield. I know we're going from attack to defense.
But the midfield is almost solidified, and it doesn't change when you're talking the defensive holding midfielders.
Exactly. We know that right now, if healthy, Miggy and Larry and Nagby are our 3 midfielders. That hasn't really changed all year. That's been Tata's first options as long as they're healthy. And I know there was some rumor about, another defensive midfielder coming in. We haven't seen that yet. That's Larry's spot to lose. And I thought Awo played pretty well on Wednesday night, so maybe he's the backup for that position over Gosselin for right now, who we've mentioned. But so if we know kind of that Barco and Tito and Joseph are going to play up attack when they're healthy, and we know Miggy, Larry, and Nagby are going to play when they're healthy, I think Gressel's a great option, either at wing back or at wing. I don't think he's a natural defender. So who is your back 4, knowing that Garza's out for most of the year? Who would you say your back 4 in the defense is right now, Joe?
Well, we've got a center back pairing that's not going to change as well, with Parkhurst, our captain, and LGP, who was our captain in the last game.
Co-captain.
Yeah, and LGP is just that dominant force, while Parky is that calming nature and just keeps everybody organized. They're always going to be there. And I think Escobar, he was brought in for one reason over the offseason, is to solidify that right back spot. The big question mark, the position in flux, is what's going on the left wing back.
That's a great question, because McCann has been a injury doubt for a while. He has shown flashes of brilliance in a center back role this year, because when we were playing 3 at the back, he thrived on that left-sided center back role of a 3-man center back pairing. I haven't really seen him thrive at just legit left back.
Yeah, last year he played left back all season, or all the end of the season when Garza went down. And he played some this year, and I actually like him in the left back position. I think he has played better at the center back, but left back, he can cross a ball. He has the best foot on the left side out of anybody on our team from the back position. And he puts in some great crosses. So he's an option there, but hasn't been healthy. So I think he's a scratch this game like he has been the last couple. And then you got Mikey Ambrose.
He had an okay game on Wednesday night in the U.S. Open Cup. I don't know if he is truly who should be starting in left back. Who's the guy that we got from Venezuela? Hernandez.
Jose Hernandez.
Where has he been all year? Because he was supposed to be, in my opinion, that left back backup. Has he been on ATL UTD 2?
He's been playing for ATL UTD 2 all season, and he hasn't been on Atlanta United yet. So Mikey Ambrose has kind of been our spot starter, and he's what we got now, and he can get us through games. And honestly, left back, well, maybe not in Tata's system, but left back is the one position on the whole field that maybe you can kind of hide in the field. But then in Tata's system, you're thinking
it's
Greg
crucial.
Garza and how much they push up and down the field. So I'm going to go with Ambrose, and I think he's still going to hold it in there. He's going to play solid game. And, Blake, what do you think?
I think obviously we talk about defense. It's going to start with our keeper. He's big, he's tall, he's always going to be a wall. Brad has played great these past couple of matches. We let, Alec come in and get the start in the cup match. I don't think Alec played bad. I don't think he was at fault for the goal from what I could tell. So, I think Brad's back in goalie. And left back, here's my thing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think the hesitation with Hernandez is that would require us to drop an international player either to ATL UTD 2 or off the roster. And you can correct me if I'm wrong.
I think we have one open international slot because of the green cards, and that's maybe something we should go research, but I believe we have one open spot.
Because I'm ready to see Hernandez get in there. I just feel like Ambrose isn't offering enough, and I think that's going back to what we were talking about with Garza. Garza was a big reason we surged up the standings last year. Garza was actually a player on loan, to our listeners. He wasn't a player that was signed for Atlanta United last year. And we went off in the offseason and made a big money signing to keep Greg Garza. Didn't really get to see him hit his potential this year. He's out again. And now it's kind of like, man, that position feels like using duct tape over a leak in your pipe.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable with our left back situation, Joe. And I think that's the biggest weak spot on our team right now.
Yeah. And you mentioned Greg Garza with the injury, and he's had a little bit of injuries throughout his career. When he was in Mexico, he kept getting injured. The reason they loaned him out is to see if he can get back into form, because he had a bunch of leg injuries growing up, and that's kind of how he missed his cut at being on the U.S. national team.
And then, of course, he got injured in the All Star Game last year. We voted him in as an All Star, and he gets hurt in the All Star Game, and that injury lingers into this season, which is where we're at now.
So you can definitely label Greg Garza with the injury-prone stamp. He is definitely an injury-prone player, but when he plays and healthy, he shows that he is one of the best in the league. And so maybe he can rest up and get ready for playoffs, but in the meantime, we got to find our everyday left back, and that's kind of where the injury bug has been hitting us.
Yeah, so don't you forget about Greg Garza and his importance to this team. And it just sucks that we're not going to see him for a long time right now. I think we got to find that solid left back to carry us if we're going to compete for the MLS Cup, if we're going to compete for the Supporter Shield standings. Because when I look at our roster top to bottom, and I'm trying to get in the mind of, the majestic, the magical Tata Martino. What did you say? He's sitting on a beach smoking a cigar. Where is Tata's brain when it comes to left back? Is he going to try to make a move before the transfer window closes? I wouldn't rule it out at this point, is what I'm getting at.
We got to go for the MLS Cup. So we're out of the U.S. Open Cup, guys. And if you don't know, U.S. Open Cup, I've told you before, the champion of that goes to the CONCACAF Champions League. So now that option is gone. We have 3 more options. And what they are, you can win the Supporter Shield, get first place out of everybody in the MLS, and you qualify. If you don't do that, you can go win the MLS Cup in the playoffs. If you were the champion, you go. And then the third one's kind of tricky, but they changed this rule from last year, and they take the highest record from last year and they take a total record from this year's standings and put them together, and the U.S.-based team with the best overall record from 2017 and 2018 gets that final U.S. Open or Champion League spot.
So it's like a 2-year aggregate. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to worry about that. We need to win the cup. We need to win the Supporter Shield. final thing I'm going to hit on tonight, Joe, and this is related to Tata's tactics before we send our listeners into the weekend, and it's going to be a great weekend, is this. Tata came out and addressed some rumors that Joseph might be heading to Club America, a very prestigious club in Mexico, if not the most prestigious club in Liga MX. And he said, I do not see any players moving. That's including Miggy. That's including Joseph until the end of the season. I think it's very, very clear from our front office that it's this year and we're going to win the cup and we're going all out for it.
Yeah, so that means, and that's great words to hear from Tata. We've been afraid of Miggy moving, and Joseph is just on fire, 14 goals in 16 games.
And maybe Tata leaving. It's like all this is circling in our heads.
But then to hear Tata saying he wants everyone to stay, he doesn't picture them moving this year, means we're going for that championship. And I want to see us go out in this international signing that opens up in July, go sign a big-time player that we can with our TAM money, that our Carlos Carmona money that we have just sitting in our lap. Go sign a big star player to push us over the top and make us unstoppable and run to the MLS Cup champions, Supporter Shield champions.
Yeah, and this is what Tata said, direct quote. He didn't say maybe. He said, we will wait until the end of the year to see any movement or changes to our roster. That is concerning on the transfer front, but that's incredibly encouraging on the Miggy, Joseph, our stars are staying front. I still think we should sign a left back considering the Garza injury, but you know what? I trust Tata.
Let's go sign Marcelo.
Ooh, yeah, he's a pretty good left back. I think he's at the World Cup though right now. Okay. Wait till he's back from Brazil.
Well, Blake, we're going to go to the game Sunday, and I want to hear what you think the score will be.
Okay, I'm gonna throw it out there. I don't think Joseph starts. I do think Gressel starts with Villalba up front. I think Tito gets 2 goals. I think we win 2-1 in a very close one. Late Tito goal, reminiscent of his late goal at Bobby Dodd against Orlando.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and throw my prediction out there. Portland struggles to score, but I do see they can put 2 in. We've struggled on our home turf. I want to bring it back, and I want us to win. But I'm seeing a 2-2 tie.
Ooh. ATL Joe's not being super positive. Hey, guys, don't forget we're going to be at SoccerCon on Saturday before the game. I know there's going to be tons of Atlanta United stuff out there. I know there's going to be tons of Atlanta United fans there. But this is a celebration of soccer around the entire city of Atlanta. It's going to be awesome. It's a World Cup. It's everything. Right, Joe?
No, it's going to be wonderful there. I'm going to be there in one of my jerseys. I have many teams I'm pulling for. So come catch us. We're going to drink some beers and watch some World Cup soccer. It's great.
Ree-rah.
Yeah, at Ree-rah. And we have been AT Aliens United, and we thank you for listening. Go ahead and subscribe. Hit 5 stars. Give us a good comment, and we'll see you guys this weekend.
Yeah, come check us out. Joe and I will be at the AT Aliens United tent.
With some swag from Chuck.
Swag.
Animaniacs.
Some good swag. Hey, Joe. Are you gonna spike home a baby tomorrow?
No babies.
No babies.
Just beers.
Joe's not spiking any babies.